We here at the Shuffle Squad are ready to bring you a top 5 list for the upcoming Warsaw Regional Pokemon TCG event that's happening this coming weekend. If you want to get ready to play in the Warsaw event, or maybe just at locals, maybe a 1K this weekend, you're going to want to check out this list for our top 5 picks. Okay, first off, before we get started on the top 5 decks that we've chosen for the video, make sure you're stopping over to PTCGO and use the code TSS5 if you want to save yourself 5% off of any codes for the upcoming Silver Tempest set coming out just this weekend on PTCGO. So if you're aiming to get ready for that, make sure you're checking out that sponsor. Also, if you need some of the cards for the upcoming regionals, say Toronto or Arlington, if you're going to those, hop over to atlastcg.com and use our awesome discount code TSS12. Make sure you're pre-ordering all of those Silver Tempest cards to come right to your home anywhere you live, because they do ship worldwide, so why wouldn't you? Now, if you're looking to protect those cards, you can also check out bcwsupplies.com. The link again for all of these are going to be down in the description, but BCW is an awesome partner that we have with the Shuffle Squad that is going to help you protect cards with sleeves, deck boxes. Even if you have a really nice playmat, they have tubes for the playmats as well, so you're going to want to check those guys out. As always, this video is brought to you by our friends at PokeXWord.com. If you love Pokemon and you love puzzles, put them together, and you can check out amazing puzzles every single day posted over there. You can even do puzzles like the awesome Who's That Pokemon puzzle, which are very similar to the old anime or the flavor text that's on the Pokemon cards themselves. So getting over to our other videos here, we're gonna hop into these lists here. Don't forget to check out our Patreon, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you would, and we would greatly appreciate that as well. All right, for number 5, we're gonna hop right into it. Lost Zone Box has been such a powerhouse, so many different ways to play it, such a versatile deck. We're gonna take a look here at a base list, which was the winning list out of the Peoria, Illinois regional, piloted by Toward Redcliffe, beating our own Cal Connor at second place there. But this list is so solid. I mean, there's a reason that it did well. There's a consistency element that you see here. Now, in a list like this, you have the Radiant Charizard to finish out the game. We have the multiple Sableye to plant damage counters on Pokemon to knock out with Cramorant, and Cramorant can attack for free after the 4 cards are in the Lost Zone. So we know how the deck works, right? As an engine, I think that the reason this deck appears in our top 5 is the consistency aspect overall. I mean, we have the 4 Path to the Peak, which can shut down things like Palkia. It can shut things down like Mew Vmax. So those decks are really going to get hurt by the path, the heavy path counts. And I think that going into maybe even the next meta, we'll see more path decks like this be prevalent, because shutting down abilities on V Pokemon or Vstar, Vmax, what have you, is really, really powerful. So that being said, I think the Oranguru is something that not a lot of people mention. That's such a pivotal point in the deck. You really want to start to put those unnecessary resources on the top of your deck. I know resource management with Oranguru, who knew? But putting your resources on the top of the deck and then using Comfey to Lost Zone those unneeded resources to draw into the things that you actually need, thinning your deck for the win. And I think that this is a solid list to start with and then adapt from it. I mean, I think that just playing a single prize deck that really wins a lot of the matchups is a solid pick going into any regional. So that is why this appears at number 5 here. All right, get your hats on and get ready to rock and roll. This is Azul's list from the top 4 placement in the most recent Salt Lake City regionals. And I think that we are going to see tons of Regigigas. People love the deck. People love the affordability of the deck. I think this list is really solid. It's got outs to a lot of counters, whether it's between the more recent Regigigas that's in there, and then the Team Yellhorn. So you're able to get out of those situations with a flying Pikachu Vmax. You're able to get out of the Ice Cues, things like that. Able to switch back and forth a little bit more. There is the 3 count of the scoop up nets in here. I think the dig and draw element of the trekking shoes in a list like this is really solid, and obviously we've seen more and more of that take place. Reggie's is not really favored online because of the negation of the gift energy on PTCGO, so you don't see it topping a lot of the online tournaments. But when it comes to in real life, I really think that this list thrives here, being able to draw so much better than the online lists for sure. So if you're looking at doing this, proxy up some cards, use this list, and I'm sure that you're going to be happy with some of the results because it does play so well, and especially being, again, a single prize deck, I really think it has legs to stand in not only the top 8, but maybe even winning a regional finally with the Regigigas list here. So I would not be surprised to see this played heavily in Warsaw at all. Again, with the Path decks, I think that you're going to see a lot of accountability when it comes to being pathed on these other lists here, and just being able to see where this deck can thrive in a meta that is focused around abilities. So we do have a heavy draw support count in a list similar to this too. So the 4 of Research, the 4 of Marnies, kind of cutting back on the Ultra Balls a little bit here. And then we have the Pokégear, which is kind of a niche card, can be slotted for something else if you want. So the Pokégear 3.0, able to dig for those draw supporters a little bit nicer once you get down towards the end of your deck and you really just need a draw supporter to find you that out. I think that the Pokégear is kind of cute in a list like this. Maybe swapping it out for the 4th Ordinary Rod could be fun too. But I don't know if you necessarily need the 4th Ordinary Rod if you're just trying to swing in with Research. So it's something to test out, and maybe we can see some change up of the counts of Pokemon in here, maybe upping the count. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was the other Regidrago that was played in this list too, just to swing for maybe a 240 hit on something, a 270 with a choice belt, and then ping it again with a Regigigas towards the end of the game if you put some boss or rope in here or your opponent retreats. So I really do think this list is solid, definitely a contender for the top cut, if nothing else, and I really hope that it does well. So we'll get over to number 3. Now here we go, number 3, everyone's favorite deck, Mew Vmax. Now, you've seen how Mew Vmax played out, so I'm not going to talk too much about how the deck actually works. You should hopefully know by now if you've been playing the game. If not, you can watch countless videos, especially on the Shuffle Squads channel. If you're going back and looking at a list like this, you can see how the adaptation of taking out the Fusion Strike energies and just using the double turbo energies, using the cross switchers in a list like this has been so versatile, even though you're not taking those first turn knockouts like you would. You can still swing for power towards the end of the game, and I feel like that's more and more important as we go on. Now, this is Fabio's list, the winning list from the Lily Regional, and I think that there are some tech slots that may be moved around here if we're going to see this going into Warsaw. I know that it's a pretty solid list. I think the Avery is kind of niche now. If we see more Regigigas, that might be a little less of a solid play to cut the Avery, but I would say maybe slotting in a Drapion V for the mirror, maybe slotting in something like a 4th Rotom phone just for consistency. I do think the 2 Marnies is really good here, and it lets you draw out of a lot. The Palpad is pretty necessary when you do have a 1 count of a lot of your supporters. You're able to get them back, and then you can also just Palpad your Silene, which can hopefully get you your power tablets, which can hopefully get you a knockout on another Vstar Pokemon, because those are usually 280 hit points, and a lot of them can just one hit knock you out. I won't give too much away in the next oncoming list, but there are some ability attacks or V-Star attacks that can just knock you out. And then obviously you definitely want to play into the Roxanne path play for something like the Palkia matchup, because you don't want them just drawing into everything that they need right off the gate. If you can get into a Roxanne path or a Marnie path as soon as humanly possible in that matchup, that's great, because you know, it does rely on the ability aspect there going into a Palkia Vstar matchup so they can accelerate energies. So it's something you want to be cautious about. Obviously, resource management is the name of the game on something like this. Lost City is definitely a tech for the Regigigas matchup and also the Lost Zone box matchup. If you're able to Lost Zone some of the Pokemon that can't come back later in the game, you're pretty much winning the game. So definitely a list I would at least test, if nothing else, and pilot. Hopefully we'll see it in the top 8 cut in the regional this weekend. Okay, number 2, there are a lot of cards in this list, but Palkia Vstar, still one of the most prominent decks, considered the BDIF in most cases, has been great since its release here in Astral Radiance. So with Palkia's not only ability, but also attack, just smashing damage, adding energy to the board, it's such a force to be reckoned with. This list is actually Vaughn's from the top placement on, I think a few weeks ago, the late night series. So this deck really has wheels to move. Now, if you look at it, it's pretty consistent to most of the Palkia decks. We do have the quick shooting Inteleon, the shady dealings Inteleon, you have a 3 count of the Drizzile, but the 4 count of the Rapid Strike Sobbles. Now, I know a lot of people have been cutting some Sobbles, and I think that really hurts consistency overall in the deck. I mean, the deck is just a setup portion. When you get the coin flip right, you could set up your board state pretty easily by getting the Sobbles. Now, people started to become a little bit more afraid of putting the 60 HP Sobble on here and using the 70 HP, but I think the consistency element that Vaughn was trying to go for is really, really good, and having the 4 Sobbles as maybe your active Pokemon, or a better probability of getting that as your active Pokemon, and not just taking a quick KO into your active Pokemon and not having anything to back up with. Like if you were going into a Mew Vmax matchup and you have your Palkia active, you really don't want that, because you never know when Mew Vmax can just take a one shot on your active V Pokemon, just ending the game for you pretty much at that point when they set up their prize map. So I think that the addition of more basic Pokemon that are unnecessary in a matchup like that are really good here. And then we see the Raihan come into play. Raihan is kind of a niche card, and I really do like it here because it's kind of a second Melanie in a sense, where you can search not only the energy from the discard pile and attach it to any Pokemon, not just a V Pokemon, but you can also search your deck to find that missing piece to get you the ending knockout for a game. So we have this disruption of the Roxanne in here again. We see that, and the 4 Battle VIPs, pretty consistent overall. The 4 Iridas, I mean, it's a must. A lot of things here are pretty solid. There is the big charm and then the 1 choice belt. I don't know if you ever need a second choice belt in most cases, especially since you have the quick shooting Inteleon that can ping. You have the 3 scoop up nets that can put it in a different position on your board and do it all over again. So I really think that the list is solid. Definitely, if you've been a Palkia player thus far, trying out this list to see if it's a little bit more consistent for you and win some more matchups with it, I think that's the way to go. We will definitely see this in the top cut of day 2, in my eyes at least. All right, so rounding things out at number 1, we do have Giratina Vstar. Now, Giratina, we know, is a fantastic deck, and it's just gotten better as the deck lists have molded throughout time here, not only in the PTCGO tournaments found on Play.Limitless TCG, but also in real life. This list here is actually Nick Moffat's list from the top 8 at Salt Lake City. So we could see here the utilization of the Radiant Greninja to start to be your draw engine, aside from just the Comfey. And then we have Drapion V, which is really great to hit into those Mew Vmax decks. We really want that to come out of nowhere. We do have things like the disruption aspect of the Roxanne in this list, which could be really good once you get a few of your Giratinas knocked out, or say if you're playing up against Lost Zone box, you'll be able to kind of swing that matchup in your favor, putting your opponent down to those 2 cards. Now, a few more things that we do see to kind of stop the Palkias, stop the Kyurem, stop the Lost Zone boxes from building up that bench, is we do have the Collapse Stadium here. Now, this is a really important card in a list that's portrayed in the video. And I think that Collapse Stadium will see more and more play as we get into these regionals. Obviously, Regigigas as a deck and all the Regi family really get hurt by the stadium like this. Now, if you Roxanne them into the stadium, it's similar to how Path works because they can't really find their way out most of the time. So chances are you're going to start to swing into these matchups a little bit more favorably. So I definitely like the looks of this list going into the regionals and playing in any sort of locals. So definitely check it out. All of these lists are going to be down in the comments below, so make sure you're checking that out as well. So if you have any other further questions on this list, I think we've pretty much covered how Lost Zone box works, and you're really just adding the Giratina for the extra power element into those things like the Palkia V-Stars, into those bigger Vmaxes, things like that, and then Mirage Gauges coming out of nowhere. I almost wouldn't hate to see a Snorlax added in here, but all in all, I think the list is great. I think the consistency aspect of this list is great too, so I would not be surprised to see it again in the top 8 for this upcoming regional. And there you have it, the top 5 decks rolling into this weekend. We are super excited to see what will actually take the top place at the Warsaw Regional. Maybe you can comment down below and let us know which deck is your favorite or which one you think would win and why. Make sure you're checking out all of our channels, all of our extra bonus sponsorship codes down in the description as well. We're going to leave you here with a message from all of our sponsors. Hopefully we'll check you out next time on the Shuffle Squad. The Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Atlas Collectibles, the best place to buy any trading card game product online. Visit atlastcg.com and at the checkout screen, make sure to use code TSS12 to save an unbeatable 12% off your entire order. Atlas Collectibles will ship your product anywhere in the world, so make sure you're taking advantage of the 12% savings with TSS12. And if Pokemon is not your thing, don't worry. Go to atlastcg.com and see all the other amazing trading card game products they have there to offer.
The Shuffle Squad is partnered with PTCGO Store to provide our community with the best access to Pokemon TCG codes. They have codes available 24/7, instant email delivery, and you can save 5% off by using code TSS5. If you're a YouTube member or Patreon supporter, you'll have access to a special code that gets you 10% off. So what are you waiting for? Use code TSS5 today and save 5% on your next order of codes on any codes available at ptcgostore.com.
Pokéx Word, the best place to get your fill of Pokemon-inspired puzzles. New puzzles are posted every day, and they recently launched a new Guess That Pokemon puzzle, which is a ton of fun to play. Go check them out at PokéXWord.com and be sure to follow them on Twitter for your chance to win a ton of PTCGO codes every month.
Check out the Late Night Series Season 6, brought to you by myself, Zach Lesage, and the Shuffle Squad. We're going to be running a bunch of sick events for the Pokemon community, and they start on August 30th. So one thing you might be noticing here is that there's an EU time and an NA time. We have one at 12 p.m. Eastern, which works out to about 5 p.m. in London. And then we have one at 7 p.m. Eastern, which should help out a lot of players on the West Coast play in this event. That being said, we still have a lot of cool things going on. Expect similar prizing that we've had for other Late Night Series events. Expect better staffing, expect better tournament experiences, and of course we do have a stream going up for this season as well, and I will be streaming the event on Twitch. That being said, we have the whole season up on the Play Limitless website. Late Night 51 all the way through 70 runs until we hit the Invitational on November 5th. So check that out, sign up today, and support Zach Lesage Events and the Shuffle Squad. See you there.